I guess in terms of transactions, the Kings did sign Juan Toscano-Anderson last week. It's a non-guaranteed one-year deal. I think it's a smart move in the fact that, obviously he's got the connection to Brown, so he knows the defense and what he wants, and he's going to do the little things. And it makes sense, and he's long, he's a versatile defender. But, how much do you think he's going to play, and how much do you think it's really that big of an impact?
Probably not the biggest of impacts, really. I think they got him for being that versatile defender. Kind of fill in, maybe kind of like that KZ Okpala role, where, man, we really need some defense right now, throw in KZ. I think that's what the role he's going to play. We saw him at the end of that first quarter, I want to say, with 10 seconds left. It's all right, throw him in for the last possession to play some defense.
The Kessler Edwards role.
So, he has some championship experience. He's a vet, too. I don't think he sees the floor too much, but I think when he goes out there, even though he was part of that unit that didn't finish the game too well the other night against the Wizards, I think he's just going to give some veteran leadership and try to, whatever Brown throws him into, it's probably mostly defense. I think he's going to help out right away. I think that's important too. So I kind of like it. I just don't see him playing much.
Yeah, I agree. I think in terms of his character, if I remember correctly, I think Steve Kerr said something about him a few years ago where he quoted, he took a Bill Walton wisdom, I guess, where it's you can tell a lot about someone's personal life and who they are by the way they play basketball, and that's so true of Juan Toscano-Anderson, Kerr said.
Something like people play basketball the way they live their life, and I think that's really accurate, and Juan is, the way he plays basketball is energetically, smartly. He does it in a manner that sort of weaves everybody together. He really ties a lot of groups together.
Because he plays so hard and he gives it his all, and he's constantly working. He worked his way from being undrafted up from the G League to being a championship contributor. So that's all going to work out. But one of the things that I really thought about when they made this signing was, man, this is a huge indictment of Chris Duarte and Kessler Edwards. I think Chris Duarte has struggled to limit his fouls. I think at the beginning of the season, he was fouling a lot, but a lot of those fouls, given the adjustment to wanting to play more physical, felt like fouls you could live with. It felt like it was just him being a tad bit too physical, just a little bit too much chest into somebody. And it was okay, you can live with that, that'll get better. But it never really did. He kept fouling at the same rate. He fouls more than JaVale McGee, who we've been complaining about the last couple weeks. Easily the most foul-prone player on the team this season, Chris Duarte. And his three ball came around for a couple games, but it wasn't really there. I feel like every time he was out there, even with Sabonis, it wasn't like the chemistry was on full display. It didn't always seem like he was 100% comfortable or decisive on what he was doing. So, Juan Toscano-Anderson can kind of fill the role, or at least do a lot of the things that Duarte can do as well. And, Duarte might be a better three-point shooter, but it's not like Duarte's proven in his short NBA career that he's a true, through-and-through three-point shooter. How is he going to earn his opportunity to win back time on the floor? You mentioned that closing lineup against the Wizards. He was part of that. I think there was a moment where he kind of just put up a three without much ball movement, and you can only wonder where he's at. He got thrusted into a new team. He's probably struggling with a completely different role. There's a language barrier, which probably makes the transition to a new team in town different. It's one of those things where it seems like it's difficult for Duarte, and the Kings are trying to do stuff here, and they're clearly not waiting around for him. And it's just so interesting to think about, because when they got Duarte was almost like Vezenkov obviously was the biggest addition, but Duarte, even more than JaVale McGee, felt this guy's going to be great in the rotation. He's going to lend a lot to both ends of the floor. It's going to be huge. In 25, 26 games into the season, it's just I can't even envision how he's going to get time.
You said there's a language barrier? Does he not speak English?
Well, no, he speaks English. He just doesn't speak it well, but he has to. They've noted a few times that he has to have a translator there a lot of the time.
He's good. He's learning. He's paying attention. The whole language thing he kind of struggles with, but the coaches are doing a great job of trying to explain it to him.
And that what makes one of the things really nice with Sabonis, because Sabonis speaks fluent Spanish. So,
I had no idea.
Yeah. I don't think the language barrier, just to be clear, is not a huge factor, but I think it is a factor in the transition to a new team. You're still a young player. You've got a new role. You had a really down year. And it's not the most comfortable situation.